Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Mad Money. We are on the second half of our doubleheader combined with Sideline Sports. Great show. I'm Pundit, Mr. Pundit himself. Jacob, welcome back. Why don't you give everybody a quick overview of what we talked about on Pundit before we transition over to our broadcast?
Talked about Deion Sanders, the move to Colorado. A lot of different stuff right there. We talked about should coaches. I mean, what's a good way of saying this? I'm trying to shorten it up here. I mean, basically, do coaches need to work around the clock to be successful? Talked about Matt Ariza not being charged. Matt Ariza, and then just those are the type of ones that we do. We are basically a news magazine. We've turned into a news magazine now. And we have a lot of great conversations, a lot of deep stuff, and we really enjoy it.
All right, well, let me give everybody an overview before I introduce the crew tonight. Rick Curdy, obviously, you've had a busy week with us, haven't you, Mr. Curdy?
Sure have. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we too. All right, JB Ellis, we obviously are working on a lot of partnerships. And JB, let me go out there and put it out there for those watching. I will be a consultant for Sideline Sports, right, JB? So we're looking forward to relationship. So I'm glad
we're excited to have you with us.
Well, I'm glad. This is something that's been on the way, and I'm glad that we're finally able to get it worked out. So I'm glad to be there. And Smoking Jeremy coming off of a show called the NFL Roundtable Talks, and now he gets to talk a lot more, and he gets to talk a lot of baseball, something he doesn't do a lot of, but in a different way. Welcome back, Smoking.
Hey, great to be here.
All right. Well, you know what? We have a busy agenda today. If you want to know what the agenda, we're talking NASCAR. I wonder why NASCAR? I'll give you a really good reason. Yes, we're talking Deion Sanders, talking a lot of baseball, and a little bit of football at the very end. So with that said, we'll get rolling here. First of all, getting into the holiday spirit. But before I do that, I want to wish my mom a happy birthday up in heaven. She would have been 81 today, and she was born on the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Happy birthday, Mom. Rest in peace. Love you very much. And I know you're looking down and saying, oh, you're at it again? Yeah, but then again, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be doing this because I wouldn't kind of like be alive. All right, whatever.
He's also saying shave the beard.
Yeah, don't worry. I told me that a time or two before. Yeah, I actually shaved it before. Now it's kind of come back. I got a little lazy last week or two, but I'll get rid of it. Yeah, okay. But now you're taking the place of my mom telling me to shave the beard. Okay, good stuff. All right, getting into the holiday spirit. I can't keep a straight face with you, Jacob. NASCAR is going to participate in the 2023 Rose Parade. The float will spotlight NASCAR's 75th anniversary, the Busch Light Clash at the LA Memorial Coliseum, in the annual Tournament of Roses Parade. And I don't know about you, but my bucket list item is I would love to see a race at the LA Coliseum. So we're starting it off on a lighter note, Mr. LA Rick Curdy. What are your thoughts about the NASCAR and the Rose Bowl Parade getting involved?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. Something different. I agree with you. I'd love to see a race at the Coliseum. That would be super duper cool. But NASCAR, Rose Bowl, why not? Something different. I'm surprised they haven't done it before. So I'll tune in and see it. I'm kind of intrigued to see what their float would look like. Hopefully they don't get into any fights, or throw helmets at each other.
Well, those would be horrible fights, though.
Yeah, they can throw like flowers at each other instead of helmets or something. So, but I think it'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they had think about NASCAR and being in the Rose Parade, promoting a race at the Coliseum. I mean, why not? I mean, the good old boys certainly get around a little something different, which is why I decided to lead off with this topic, because I knew nobody in their right mind would do it anyways. But why not? We're in the holiday spirit, so you can get away with one of these. So, JB, NASCAR, the Rose Parade, how does that jive with you?
Why not? I mean, NASCAR is getting to be mainstream. They've done a heck of a job marketing. It's out there. It's big. Let's get NASCAR involved. Any way you can get more people to view your product, it's a great move for them. I'm all for it.
Yeah. Jeremy?
You know what? It's about time NASCAR jumps into cross-referencing with other sports. They have always they've had the highest attendance for their events in America for 30 years. I mean, they have more attendance than NFL games. That being said, a friend of mine from my channel chops over and says, "Happy birthday and rest in peace to your mom there, Scott." And also, hey, why not? Because the season's almost over. They have to make themselves relevant in January. It's more advertising for them.
All right, good point. All right, Jacob, you got the final word on this one.
Well over 30 years, looking at 50 or 60. I mean, they get 175,000 at the Indy 500. Now,
Right.
the biggest thing is you got to remember, everybody's been on that's ever followed me on Twitter. You know, I do all the business. I bring it on. I set it to Sideline Sports. I talked about NASCAR and the things that they were doing. Also, F1, Formula One in Las Vegas. They're bringing this on. And see, if you go to any ridiculous chat room or the comment section, you'll see that, this wasn't as good of as in the day when like Richard Petty and Fireball Roberts and all them that was the South. That was the South. You can't go regional anywhere anymore. Let's just say this: Vince McMahon proved that. They tried being regional all the way through with wrestling, WCW. It died. No matter, even if they tried to go national, it was still known as South. You can't go regional anywhere anymore. You have to go national. You have to go everywhere. You have to bring in that started with Jeff Gordon. It started with Jeff Gordon. They wanted to love the badass Dale Earnhardt, and then there was the pretty boy, and the pretty boy beat the hell out of him every single week. I mean, got it. It's like, and they were friends anyway. You know what I'm saying? And those were the deals. That's what that time was. It was a California kid. Now it's like it's all over the place now. Everything is national. Everything has to be, and then it's not only national; it has to go international now. That's going to be the next step of everything. It's like you can't just. And the world's getting smaller. I brought this up last week with everything, with all of the world. I said it on one of my final things. Every bit of the athletes are getting bigger and better, and the world's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, and you talk about the growth of the sport. I've had a lot of fun, and especially during this fall here, covering a lot of NASCAR events, mainly in Homestead, Talladega. Just to let you know, the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching us, you're watching us on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. To subscribe, just go to youtube.com, look for South Florida Tribune, and please hit the subscribe button. We appreciate it. You'll be able to get all of our live streams as well as a lot of our remote media availabilities as well. So with that said, okay, one of the big stories of the week is how will Deion Sanders do at the University of Colorado? I didn't think he would take the job, but Coach Prime definitely did, and he has a little bit of work ahead of him. So, all right, Rick Curdy, you take a crack at this first.
Well, you sure bring a lot of excitement. This is the most I've heard from Colorado since Cordell Stewart or Rick Neuheisel. You know, they've been so irrelevant for so long. They've been bad for so long. And he's brought some mojo to them, you know, and everybody's going to come and transfer there. And now you've got the transfer portal. So he got that at his disposal. So I think that's going to be a huge advantage for him. So a lot of excitement coming to Boulder, Colorado. And, you know, I hear some people calling him a sellout. And I'm just like, why is he a sellout? Because he took a better job with more money. Isn't that what you're supposed to do in America? You move up and you go get another job. And with more money. So I don't understand this whole sellout thing for Deion, but good for him. And I think he'll do very, very well in Colorado.
Well, the one thing I know I've heard is he certainly told a lot of his players, get in the transfer portal, I don't want you anyway. So if that isn't making a splash, I don't know what it is. But then again, when you only win one game all year, what do you expect him to say? Former Florida Atlantic University head coach Willie Taggart will be on his staff over there as well. Turn over to Smoking. What do you think about Deion Sanders going into the Rocky Mountain region?
It has nothing to do with the Rocky Mountain region. What this is his jump into Division I, and the fact that he is going to get better job offers now once he makes them a relevant, not so much a powerhouse, but someone that teams have to contend with. Nobody's had to contend with Colorado since that time they accidentally beat Michigan with a field goal. I mean, that's how long they've been irrelevant.
Right. Okay, Jacob.
I brought up my point tonight. on the things that we're going to go to the Colorado deal, how you do it Colorado. It's like, I'll say this right now. There's going to be a lot of questions. He's putting his kid in as the number one, as the QB1.
Right.
He's going to bring his own kind of people in. See, now here's the issue. And now his coaching staff's going to have some experience, so there's that. But here's an issue now. Some of the people he's bringing in are FCS level. Can they hang in the FBS? Can they hang in the Power 5?
I can possibly answer some of that because some of those FCS kids come to the NFL and do better than the kids from Division One.
No, you have a good point with that. I'm just saying that by itself, it doesn't make it as there's questions. Because Shedeur Sanders did really well as a quarterback. But it's like, now this is Power 5. Now there's a lot of things. Now it's something to prove. So, and go ahead.
No, but you're also not taking into effect that a lot of these kids could have played in Power 5 schools, but went to the school because it was Dion. You're not talking about.
You're talking about the kid that Detroit drafted, James Houston, who was at Florida, transferred to Jackson State because he knew Deion Sanders would help him get ready for the pros better. And lo and behold, he has more sacks than Kayvon Thibodeau and Trayvon Walker in 2 games.
Well, yeah, and that's completely, that's a good point on something like that. But that's the only thing I bring up. It's like, now you get to here's the thing. I'm just glad he didn't try to go to the SEC and get killed because there's some monsters there. And it's like,
I got people complaining that they wish Jackson State was playing in the Division I college football playoffs because they could do
murdered.
I know they would, but they were saying they might be able to beat TCU.
No, Zimmer's going to do it. It's not candidate. He's going in.
All right, let's go to the chat room, if I may. Okay, Keegan Eckerd, you're right. I've heard that rumor that Zimmer's.
No, he's going in. It's official.
Well, there is
he's the defensive coordinator for him now.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
nice.
Keegan Eckerd, there is no rumor. It's fact. But thanks for chiming in. We appreciate you very much. Good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, with the whole thing with Dion, I mean, first of all, there's people that are offended that he would leave Jackson State. He was supposed to raise the historical black college. Listen, he's a man that wants to make money for his family. He's a football coach. The fact that, he's not, that wasn't his thing that he wanted to do. He wasn't, what was the famous coach? And I read the article today, I forget. I think he coached at Grambling. He was there for Eddie Robinson.
Eddie Robinson.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there forever. But Deion's not Eddie Robinson. Deion's prime time. Deion wants his name out there. He wants to go to the highest profile job. He wants to be there. This isn't, this wasn't his thing. There was an opportunity. He took advantage and made the most of it. Now he's going to Colorado. He's going to make the most of it there. And, 2-3 years, if he does well, someone else is going to call for him and he's going to go and leave Colorado. This is the way coaching is in college.
Yeah.
I see the natural progression. He went from Division II to Division I Power 5. You know what the next step is?
Yeah,
Florida State.
To say that he was wrong. He should have never left. It wasn't right what he did. He was the savior for the HBCUs. That's all hogwash. I mean, yes, theoretically, we all want that hero that's going to stay in the one job and do the one thing perfect forever. But that's not the way of the world. The man has a family. He wants to make money. He wants his name out there. There's not a thing wrong with what he did. He put Jackson
It's capitalism.
State on the map, and he put Jackson State on the map. It's up to them now to get another coach in there, to pay money, find somebody, and continue to grow the program the way Deion gave them the opportunity.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to this as we go on to baseball in just a few moments is, number one, more power to what he did at Jackson State. And I don't think Colorado, to me, is what you call a prime job. But, it is nevertheless a Power 5. I actually think if he wasn't going to go to Florida State or Auburn, Deion Sanders is headed to the National Football League after this move here.
That's where I was going with it.
Well, and that's where I'm going with it now. Okay, I believe that once he conquers Power 5 Division I college, he's going to the NFL. I mean, why not go after the NFL? A lot of coaches, how do you go ahead and conquer one level? You conquer another, whether it's a national championship, getting to the playoffs. Keep in mind that the college football playoffs is going to expand to what, 12 teams?
12 teams.
Right, in 2024. So we'll see where it goes. He's got a long way to go. That's a mess that he's inheriting there. But if he keeps them competitive the first year, gets them up to 5-6 wins, and then you see where it goes. I say 3, 4, 5 years max over at Colorado. He's in the National Football League, and that's really
Look at what he did with Jackson State. Jackson State was the equivalent of Colorado in their division in FCS. Right. They were a 1-win team that year. The next year, he took them to just outside the playoffs. This year, he damn near went undefeated.
Also, then there's obviously a trend here, and I think it continues to the National Football League. I want to get to some baseball. There was no way that we could leave Deion Sanders off, and I wasn't going to allow that anyways, because it's certainly one of the top stories of the week. And we also talked about it last week on Inside the Pigskin as well. So now that he took the job, before there was rumors, I wish Deion Sanders well over at Colorado State. We'll see how, like capitalism, he's entitled to go ahead and make a little bit more money for his family and boost his profile. But in the end, all roads lead to the NFL. Well, leave little doubt, the big story of the day is Aaron Judge has a 9-year, $360 million contract. And let me break down the numbers here, because I had to do a lot of highlighting for this one, okay? Because I don't really get too heavy into numbers, but I'm going to do it this time, okay? So I said 9-year, $360 million contract. That's nearly $770,000 per week, $110,000 per day, $4,600 per hour, $4,600 per hour and $76 per minute for the next 9 years. Now, let's keep in mind the man bet on himself, okay? Judge was offered $213 million for a 7-year extension in April. Now $360 million. Of course, hitting 62 home runs doesn't hurt either. So we'll break this topic down a couple different ways. We're going to talk about, I just want reaction from you guys about the contract and the numbers that are within the contract. And then I'll go on to other things, but I want to just keep it focused in this area. JB, I'm going to lead off with you this time.
Not happy at all. I'm the Yankee fan on the panel. He's a great player. He deserved to get paid, but $360 million. Now you have $80 million a year with him and Garrett Useless Cole. And you still got to put another 23 guys on the roster. It doesn't make it very easy. It handcuffs the team. And 5 years from now, when Aaron Judge isn't the guy who can hit 62 home runs, what are you going to do? So that's my thoughts on that.
Jacob?
I absolutely was thinking of I actually thought that was a little lower than I was expecting. When Trey Turner came in at 3, when he came in at 300, I expected 4 or 5 for a Judge. So that was the thing. But at the same time, you have to also think Trey Turner's got hits like average about 320, 330. So He deserves his himself. Now, the biggest thing about as far as a marketing deal, Aaron Judge deserves, being the 62 home runs, he might even get more. Right. But now the question I'm going to have, and maybe JB will probably agree with me on this. You've got this with Garrett Cole. How much more can you really build around to go get a World Series?
Right.
For them. And it's like, that's what I ask. And it's like, and I would have personally, to me, I would have rather seen the Cubs take a complete splash and do that over Cody Bellinger. But it's like considering
I love the Cody Bellinger move. I think they got him cheap. If he stays healthy, that's a great sign.
Of course they got him cheap. He's also a 165 hitter. But you're right. It's a prove it. It's a prove it. There's no question. But I'm like, I want to see that. But I want to see. We talk about with the Cubs with Confidential. I want to see a team build for a World Series. Yes, the Yankees can go to ALCS. For all the time we said they haven't won since 2009, they go to the ALCS quite a bit. And it's like, but they're not building to. They're not built for Houston. They're not built for these teams. And it's like giving him that big thing. How far can they go right now? To be very honest.
Well, the 165 is a tough thing. Sorry to interrupt you, Scott. That was his injury year. the first couple of years he was hitting 250, 260 with a 305 in there. You know, then the last 3 years have been down, but one of them was an injury year. That was the 165. So I don't think that's a bad move for 17.5 million.
Yeah, you know what? I can't help myself by wanting to repeat these numbers again, but I'm going to do it anyways. Just because they blow me away. Now I'll turn over to Rick and Jeremy. But for those of you just joining us, okay, and we're on Aaron Judge, a 9-year, $360 million contract that's nearly $770,000 per week, $110,000 per day, $4,600 per hour, and $76 per minute for the next 9 years.
Same amount of money as Rick Curdy makes.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what minimum wage is, but I can tell you right now, okay, it isn't $4,600 per hour. So
Federal minimum wage is still $7.25, so it
Yeah, but
literally
who makes
takes them
$7.25 now? Who makes $7.25 anymore?
very few. But I'm just saying, that's what the federal minimum wage is right now.
all right, you know what? Keegan Eckerd's on a roll. So guess what? We're going to let Keegan help us out a little bit. So go ahead, guys. Rick, you know, let's go ahead. The thing about Judge is that, yes, he can hit home runs, but he strikes out a lot. If I had to guess, the Yanks didn't care about the strikeout problem. Well, you know what, Keegan? Good guess. They paid him. So with that said, Rick Curdy, take it from there. Well, give me your thoughts on Aaron Judge.
I mean, it's no surprise we knew he was going to make $1 billion. You know, we knew he was going to sign like a 10, 12, 15-year deal because that's what they do now. I mean, he's 30 years old.
Only 9.
I mean, I think they got him for a bargain, to be quite honest with you. Other teams were going to give him more money. Apparently the Padres or the Giants. And he chose to stay in New York. So not a big surprise. I actually thought it'd be like $400 million, to be quite honest. So, he's staying. But yeah, he's injury prone. And in the next 5 years, when he's like, 35, 36, he's not going to be the same. So I just see an Albert Pujols contract right here.
All right, I'll close this topic out with smoking. Go ahead.
As soon as I saw Trey Turner get $300 million, I knew Judge was getting paid more. I mean, that's all there was to it. Because Trey Turner's good, but he doesn't hit for that much power and that many ribbies. That's just a given. That being said, he needs to improve his postseason play. He needs to also improve his plate discipline so he could possibly do better later on.
Okay. Well, I like Will Vogel's comment. He deserves this contract as one of the face of the league. And I know
Absolutely.
I know in the past I've also done shows actually on whether MLB markets its stars. So Will Vogel's on point with that. So, all right, let's continue on the theme of MLB contracts. I have a lot I want to get to in the time that we have. So we're going to take it over to this. Mike Trout, okay, $426.5 million over 12 years. 35.5 million annual estimated value. Mookie Betts checks in at 365 for 12. 30.4 million annual value. And of course, we just talked about Judge, 360 million, but he gets 9 years with 40 million. That's a lot of dough out there. So you know what, Jeremy, you ended the last topic. You're going to start, and I'm going to whip it around again. So go ahead, Jeremy. That's a lot of money for 3 of the bigger stars, and hopefully MLB will at least market these guys anyway. So Jeremy, go ahead.
Will Mike Trout ever play another full season again and earn that money? Probably not. He hasn't done it for 3 straight years. He gets hurt a lot. Granted, when he's on the field, he's one of the best to play the game, but he doesn't stay on the field. I think he was overpaid. The next guy, Mookie Betts, solid player, getting long in the tooth. Is he going to live up to that contract? Probably not. Sports is the only place where you get paid future better for past performances while you were failing at parts of it. I don't get it. I don't like it, but that's just the nature of the beast. And without a hard salary cap in the major leagues, you won't see this change.
Fair enough. Okay, Rick.
These contracts are ridiculous. I remember when Bobby Bonilla, I know he's still getting paid. I remember when he got a 5-year, $25 million, and you're like, oh my God, what is going on with it? That's ridiculous. And now it's like, that's nothing. That's like, I mean, I think the Water Boy gets more than that now. So, I mean, these contracts are insane. I hate them. I wish we had a salary cap. You know that's not going to happen. These agents are just dollar sign. They're the ones who control Major League Baseball and all the sports are the agents. Forget about the commissioners or the coaches. It's the agents who run this league, and this money is just so insane, and it's guaranteed. So like Jeremy said, Judge is getting awarded for hitting 62 home runs. Is he going to do that again? I seriously doubt it. They're just bad contracts. In the last 3 or 4 years, they don't do well. No one deserves. I mean, not even Babe Ruth, deserves that type of money. It's ridiculous.
All right, Jacob.
To bring up the point, thank you, Rick, because I'm usually the one that makes up that whole thing about the agents and lawyers running these leagues. But thank you for bringing that. I mean, I'm starting to make a good deal on this.
It's the truth.
Yeah. Now, the biggest thing about this, though, is when you say these 9 years and all that kind of stuff like that, the only thing I think of, I don't think about them finishing it. I think about who they're going to finish with. And because there's always going to be somebody down the line that's really, really close. Like,
desperate enough to give up the world.
Yep. Yeah. Everything like that will take on that contract. That'll take it on. That'll take most. Because unless you're an idiot as a GM, which, remember what happened with the Tennessee Titans GM, who got fired after A.J. Brown torched him.
Yeah, right.
Unless you're an idiot, you're not going to take on all that money in the first place. So you're going to find somebody to take that money on. And it's usually halfway through the contract. So really, I don't see, especially as bad of an owner as Artie Moreno is, I do not see Mike Trout staying. I think he's going to want to get to a playoff. He's going to want to get to a World Series. He's not going to want to deal with Artie Moreno. I mean, I wouldn't want to myself. As far as Mookie, go ahead.
That's okay. Well, go ahead. Finish your Mookie bets.
Mookie, I think that's gonna flow. That's gonna fail eventually. It's like, remember, you get older. That can become, I can say, the Matt Stafford situation as far as the injuries,
right?
Because he does play hard. So that's gonna wear and tear on him. But as far as all the contracts and what I think about this, we've said it forever. Any of us that ever watch, we can say, "Oh my God, this is ridiculous. It's crazy." We're gonna have $1 billion guy in the next 5-6 years.
Well, that's because as long as we're still willing to pay the ticket price increases to go to the games, the owners will have the money to spend.
Well, it's more the ticket prices now, though. It's like it's around ballparks. You got all these miniature cities, and I know it's all a real estate deal now. So
the $10 12-ounce cup of beer.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, but it's like it's more than that. All that kind of stuff, all that stuff with the tickets and the beer and all that stuff is bonus money. They're getting theirs from the real estate end. But at the same time, though, you have to wonder which owner really wants to win at certain points, because some of these owners lose money when they do that. It's a lot of the losing owners who make their money.
Who's one of the winningest owners right now and hardly has a roster that makes a drop in the bucket compared to everybody else? Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
Okay, JB, you got the last word. Then I'll say a couple things, and then we'll move on. Go ahead.
So you got $1 billion on the books in these three guys. One who's got a bad degenerative back. One who strikes out more than most people. That Ted Williams struck out in his career, and Mookie Betts, who I like, but that's just a lot of money. It's ridiculous. And what is a guy like Ohtani going to be worth on the free market? $500 million?
Over 5.
Yeah, he's going to get he might be the $1 billion player when it all comes.
He's going to the Yankees, JB,
and he'll get that lifetime contract.
$200 million on 3 guys. I mean, listen, it's absurd. It doesn't make
I'm
sense.
not joking about Ohtani. He looks like the real deal, though.
The whole situation just doesn't make sense. And what's happening is they're squeezing out the money off the younger guys. They're in their mid-career that aren't the superstars. You look at the salaries in baseball, you have your stars and you have your minimum guys. There's no middle ground anymore. It's being slowly stripped away. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Hard to keep leagues going that way.
Well, especially also minor leagues being $11,000 for A and AA, making that per year.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to close out the topic here is, number one, Okay, can you believe the amount of no trade clauses being inserted in these contracts? But my final word on this topic is, can you believe a year ago we were dealing with a lockout? What a difference a year makes, right? I had a lockout and we didn't know when baseball was going to start, 99-day lockout. And as a result, what do you have? So no trade clauses, lockout. Like I say, what a difference a year makes.
$1 billion on 3 major leaguers, Scott.
Yeah.
$1 billion.
Yeah, Will Vogel has an interesting comment. He does contribute a lot, and he's a life of the chat room, and as well as our other contributors tonight. But Trout reminds me of Mantle, injury prone, but good player, and Mookie's a solid player with it offensively and defensively. So, Will's been a life, and you know what? We appreciate the participation of Keegan Eckert. Thank you very much for being with both of y'all.
Scott, just before you go on right now, everybody real quick, what would Willie Mays make per year right now if he was playing? Because arguably taking out Babe Ruth, he's probably the greatest baseball player of all time. So what do you think he would get paid per year? Just real quick, everybody.
If he was playing right now he'd be making 500 all day, 500 mil.
Yeah.
On a 10-year deal.
Yep.
I'd have a hard time arguing against 500 million because we all know what kind of a player Mays was. So, you know what? I'm going to ride Jeremy there and go 500 mil.
Yeah.
Because, legitimately, it was Ruth, Mays, and Bonds are probably the 3 best players of all time. Whether you disagree because of steroids or, whatever, arguably that's the 3 best baseball players in history.
There's one that you could interject in there that was consistent and is still the hit leader to this day, Pete Rose.
Yeah, he was really good, but he was not a home run hitter. The other guys all hit home runs.
What about Ted Williams, who won 2 Triple Crowns, or Stan Musial, or Hank Aaron? My goodness, what would Hank Aaron be making right now?
Those are all great guys, but I think there's just that little – it's like the Jordan LeBron thing. You have some other guys that were phenomenal basketball players, but they're just those 1Bs. Like we're Jordan and LeBron on 1A.
Too bad it was such a
short.
Too bad it was such a short sample size, Roberto Clemente.
All right, well, who wants to go ahead and comment on Keegan Eckert's latest comment?
Oh, he's heard me gripe about this on my channel when talking about the Lions. So players that have bad seasons and randomly have a great season, 9 times out of 10, just before a contract year, teams give them a contract for the good season rather than looking for consistent seasons. Let me give you a couple of instances. Romeo Aquara, the Giants, Kenny Galladay, the Rams, Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, well, let me give you this, though. Stafford absolutely played warrior on the Lions for years to earn that. But
he did.
He played warrior to earn that in the first place. But no, the thing about this, I'll tell you what happens with this, is they're playing a crapshoot with hoping. They did this with Mel Tucker and failed because Mel Tucker sucks. But it's like they did it with it, and they did this at Michigan State, and he's terrible. But it's like, and you do this, there's such a fear with GMs and with all these other people and the owners and all this. Boosters, everybody. There's such a fear that they're going to go somewhere else and look awesome. It's like you're making a guess. I'm just saying this real quick. You're making a guess. Will that be the only time? If we say no and then they're awesome in, say, Michigan, let's say hypothetically, Michigan State to Michigan, hypothetical. They're awesome. Then we're screwed and I lose my job and blah, 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 blah. They had that fear. Everybody lives off of fear all the time. So they do this, a knee-jerk reaction. Fans do the same thing with their own team.
Well, I'm going to say you're overreacting on Mel Tucker because do you know what he's working with this year? The last year of the previous guys, seniors and juniors.
Let me explain, though. I have seen him as a defensive coordinator of the Bears. I've seen him in Colorado. He's terrible.
I understand that. But he did great things with the young players that the last guy recruited the first year with a couple of seniors that were standouts that was good talent. This year, those seniors are gone, the ones that had talent, and you're left with the crap the previous guy recruited as your starters. And over half of them get injured 3 games into the season. He didn't have much to work with.
Yeah, but you got.
Right, well,
I'm bringing up a I'm bringing up a body of work. His body of work has never been that impressive, and he was terrible in Chicago.
All right, well, let me keep this thing on track a little bit, and we're going to go over to Flushing, where the New York Mets have a Flushing reunion as the Aces together in Detroit for 5 years. I'm talking about Justin Verlander. Yes, let's talk a little bit more money. 2 years, $86.7 million, with a vesting option of $35 million. Joins Max Scherzer. Goodbye, Jacob deGrom, Texas, and your injury history for 5. He's getting 5 years, $185 million. So, JB, we're going back to New York for this next topic, too. What are your thoughts about Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer reunited in Flushing?
So I think George Steinbrenner was frozen cryptologically like they did with Ted Williams, and he's reincarnated as the Mets owner because the Mets are spending money ridiculously on guys that are older than, some of the people on the panel here. And I
Not
don't
this
see
guy.
it.
Thank you.
I don't see it working. A longtime Yankee fan. I seen this in the '80s. You can't buy a championship. Doesn't work in baseball. You got to have chemistry. It's a long season. Bringing in these guys, they had all the homegrown guys. That's how you win. When you look at what the Astros have done, when you look at what the Yankees did in the '90s, these teams that are consistently really good, they had a core of guys from their minor league system. The Mets are going back to, the old George Steinbrenner days, and Steve Cohen not going to win much that way. He's going to get to the playoffs. He's going to be like the Yankees of today. We're going to play in October, but we ain't winning anything.
All right, well, we have an interesting person that knows Mr. Opinion. I know him too, Graham Todd Farrell. Reach out to me, Graham Todd Farrell. Would love to have you on here.
Thank you. I'm the GOAT.
Yeah, on a Wednesday night edition of the Sports Exchange, Graham Todd Farrell, reach out to us. Love to have you on and join us. The chat room's very active. So with that said, we'll turn it over to Jacob. Let's talk about the Aces back in Flushing.
Well, I kind of had a little bit of a shock that he didn't go to Atlanta because Alabama is 3 hours away. I mean, Jacob deGrom, Alabama is 3 hours away, and that's the Dr. Andrews. And considering how injured he gets all the time, that would have been a nice drive over there. But the biggest thing about these is the fact that you bring, and JB brought this up with the way that they're spending in New York,
right?
And in the end, you got to realize they're getting all these, all of these names. But you look at the age, and then you bring up Verlander's wife, who said, we picked this team because we don't like our fans that boo us. Well, the Mets will boo you just for a hobby. So that was kind of a goofy thing to say in the first place. But
are you talking bad of Kate Upton?
Damn straight I am.
So,
you remember,
Jacob, sorry to interrupt you, but you remember a few years back, the Mets made a trade with the Pirates, and they got a guy who had a loudmouth wife too, Chris Benson.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So it seems to be the Mets MO. And, there's nothing wrong with a wife that talks.
I like it.
To talk about other teams and things like that. You're putting your husband in a bad situation. He has to go out there and face, 40 to 50,000 fans on all these different stadiums. Why would you want to make him hated when the guy's had a remarkable career? If you're going to make statements, make logical statements. You're getting $40 million a year to pitch a baseball. So you picked the team because you didn't get booed. Then you know what? You don't have thick skin, and I don't want you on my team. I'm glad you're going to play for the Mets because they're garbage anyway.
Well,
Jacob, sorry to interrupt you, but we have a little bit of breaking news here, and Keegan's breaking it, so I got to get it up there. All right, Tigers third baseman outfielder Justin Henry Malloy, left-handed pitcher Jake Higginbotham, Braves get Joe Jimenez, and cash that happened just 20 minutes ago. Sorry to interrupt you, but you know what? We're taking a page out of Basket Bros.
Absolutely out of the Basket Bros.
Yeah. No, wait, is that what Tigers gave up to the Braves, or the other way around?
Yeah, Joe Jimenez is headed over to Atlanta, and the other two guys are headed to Motown. All right, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but when it comes to
no, completely understood. No, but the biggest thing about this is you're buying a aging star. Right. First off, you're not getting and the thing is, you remember you're replacing. He was hurt last year, and I've already gone to town on deGrom being hurt. And this is a guy who's not getting any younger. These are the things I'm saying with this. And guess what? Phillies and Braves are still good. And they're going to build their team. They're going to build the whole team. So I can't say that I'm going to trust the Mets anymore when the Braves and Phillies are still good.
You know what? Before I turn to Rick Curry, I just have a quick opinion on this because I want to keep moving it along here. Number one, to me, when you look at the numbers, and right now I'm looking at some numbers, and of all the shows I've ever done, I don't think I've ever looked at this many numbers, but you had to have them. But think about the money here, okay? Justin Verlander, 2 years, $86.7 million with a vesting option at $35 million, won a couple World Series. And then the trade-off is you're letting Jacob deGrom go, who, by the way, this is a desperation move by Texas to get relevant, okay, is what it is. So
He'll miss half of every year.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, Jacob, sometimes teams will overpay for desperation to get relevant, but they're bringing on a guy 5 years, $185 million. So if you look at the money, it's like $100 million versus $185 for a guy that to me is like paper mache is what he is. So, I like what the Mets are doing to add Verlander, the trade for deGrom to fix him. But the X factor that I have to make sure that's understood here is Buck Showalter, the manager, knows how to handle pitchers. This guy does. And, I think the one thing that Dusty Baker did a great job with Verlander, and Buck Showalter will do equally as well with him. But that's just my thought, okay? Rick Curdy, go ahead.
Well, to me, this is a short term. We want to win a World Series now. And thank you, JB, for thinking that Verlander's older than me. I think he's 38, so I appreciate that. Makes me feel good. But they're great players. They're going to the Hall of Fame, no doubt about that. But do you want to give all the? I mean, that's just sports. Remember we talked about Judge and how people overreacted. We're going to give him all this money, even though he's been injury prone for so long, for a lot of his career. And now you see the Mets doing that because they lost deGrom, and they're like, oh my God, we need to replace him. So let's get Verlander. And I'd rather have Verlander than deGrom, to be quite honest. Right. And Texas will regret that contract. That's stupid.
You better believe they will.
And I heard one of the reasons that deGrom left to go to Texas, I mean, not just for the money, was because he was tired of the COVID restrictions in New York, so he went to Texas.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, so that's the rumor. I have no idea. I really don't care. But it'll be interesting what happens in Texas. But good for the Mets. I mean, they just want to make a big splash. They're competing with your nemesis with the Yankees, so they made a big splash. So they're all, and you got an owner that wants to spend money. So good for the Mets. You have an owner that wants to spend money, and he's putting all his poker chips on the front in the middle of the table, and he's betting on himself. And it's short term, but he feels confident. And hey, the Mets did win over 100 games, so so far I think Cohen's doing a really good job.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to this before I turn over to you, Jeremy, is the fact that Jacob deGrom won't have to worry about paying state income tax in Texas. So he's going to make out a little bit there. I know you get taxed heavily in the metropolitan New York. I don't know. I can assume that's the case, right, JB? You live up there, right? You get taxed a lot.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. So with that said, Jeremy, we're talking. Stay on point. Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
About basically a trade here in an indirect sense with Verlander and deGrom. Let's assess.
No, wait. deGrom went to the Rangers, though, right?
Yeah. No, I'm talking about a trade off. Okay. That's all.
Oh, yeah. Okay, but wait. How long is the contract for?
Well, I'm going to go over it now. I'm going to read.
Okay.
Bear with me. So I'm talking about a trade off is what we're talking about. Justin Verlander, 2 years, $86.7 million, of course, with a vesting option of $35 million versus, and I mentioned the word versus, okay, the deGrom, 5 years, $185. Again, a trade off. We're not talking about a trade. How do you assess what the Mets got rid of versus what they inherited?
I think they did well because they'll probably get more innings in the 2 years out of Verlander than the Rangers will with deGrom in 5. Fair
enough. Okay, one of the hot topics of the week, Fred McGriff finally getting in the Hall of Fame. Okay, JB, we're going to lead it off with you. I know, Rick, we'll save you for last on this. I know what you think. We've only talked about it all week. We'll let you
talk about it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I know. Well, I won't have to worry about that no more with you. This will be a done topic by the end of tonight. Mark my word. I'm not talking about it tomorrow on college football. All right, JB, Fred McGriff, does he belong in or not?
Listen, the crime dog was one of the best of the generation. No problem with him going in. The problem is who's missing from this generation that's not in the Hall of Fame. You know, I'm not going to mention their names because we're talking about them all the time, and it doesn't matter because I'm pretty sure both of them are not on the Hall of Fame ballots any further because they've had their 10 years. They're going to have to go through the veterans committees.
Right.
You know, hopefully they get that done. You know, get them and Pete Rose, all three of them in the Hall of Fame, and let's just move on.
Fair enough. Okay, we'll move on to Jacob Christner.
They will be there. They will eventually. And it's like, because here's the thing. The Hall of Fame, as much as it's on TV, it's everything, it's a business. It is a business. And it's like, guess what? Fred McGriff's a name. So you can do this right now. It's a good story and it's a name. And that's one of the things that brings money. But eventually they're going to run out of those stories, and they're going to find the forgiveness, and they're going to bring everybody in. And Pete Rose will be one day.
I don't know about that, but we'll see.
Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I'll be dead when that happens, but okay, who knows? All right, Jeremy.
So will Pete Rose, but anyways,
still gambling in Las Vegas.
The only way he gets
that'll be how he gets in. When he passes away, they'll put him in posthumously.
Time, dog, so everybody gets their parting shots. I want to make sure everybody gets them tonight. Go ahead.
Yep. He deserved to get in. I am glad that some of the guys on the veterans board are former Tigers.
Right.
And it was great that he got in. I love the crime dog, and he played in an era when some people were being accused of the reason why the other two he won't mention didn't get in, but they deserve to be there too.
All right, now we say, now for the last time, okay, we're gonna let Rick Curdy talk about it because he's had a lot of opportunity to talk about Fred McGriff. Now, the best part about this thing with Curdy is I won't have to hear it anymore, right, Rick? Correct.
Right. I've been saying this for 10 years at least, to say, why isn't Fred McGriff in the Hall of Fame? And you got all these other players who are like, really? He's in the Hall of Fame and not Fred McGriff? The guy was, to me, the most underrated, unappreciated baseball player I ever saw. He won Gold Gloves at first base. He won, led the league in home runs, both the American and National League in home runs. 7 straight years of 30 or more home runs, which back then was like hitting 40 or 50. Won a World Series, because we always talk about rings. He won a World Series with the Braves. He was consistent everywhere he went. Blue Jays, Padres, Braves, of course. He finished his career with the Rays because he's a Tampa native. Deserved it years and years ago. I'm happy he's finally in. I'm not going to talk about it no more. I'm not going to say he should have been in there 10 years ago. He's in. I'm happy. Good for him. And if you're going to talk about Pete Rose, put Shoeless Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Right. I just want to go
to
one thing in the chat room, and then I have one topic, and we'll go to parting shots. Okay. Keegan Eckert, I'll answer your question for you with the Hall of Fame, a hot topic. But this question, do you think Miggy and Pujols get in upcoming year? First ballot.
Well, yeah. First ballot.
Both of them.
Yeah,
both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, both of them.
Absolutely.
Easily.
That's a no-brainer.
Easily.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Both of them have been World Series MVPs. Both of them in their respective conference, AL and NL at the time, have been Triple Crown winners. And season MVPs. I think, wasn't he a shared MVP with Verlander that year? Miggy?
Yeah, I believe so. But all I'll say is this. I value anybody that has a comment in the chat room, and I will get them up, as many up as I can, because you guys are the life of the broadcast anyway. So, but that said, okay, to me, the way I look at Fred McGriff, as Tom Lasorda once told me at the baseball winter meetings, because God delays does not mean that God denies. And guess what? The crime dog's in. But the one point I want to end it on that particular thing is when you think of how many games he lost because of work stoppages, he makes a 500 number without the work stoppages, and it probably makes it a different topic of conversation. He should have gotten in sooner. Nevertheless, he's in. Last topic of the night before we go to parting shots. Baker Mayfield landing with the LA Rams. Can Sean McVay fix this guy? And you know what? We'll go ahead. I know. All right, Rick, go ahead. You're nodding your head. Go ahead.
Well, this recently happens in my backyard, so I'll take a stab at it. No, Baker sucks.
Trash.
Okay, he's garbage. He can't throw. And what hurts Baker is his attitude. He never takes responsibility. Go look at his press conferences. It's we got to look at the tape. You don't have to look at the tape. You suck. Look at your completion rate percentage rating. You threw 2 interceptions. They should have won that game against the Ravens. He lost it because of those 2 horrible interceptions he threw. He gets the balls batted down all the time because he can't throw over his O-line, and he throws over his wide receivers as well. He's garbage, and he's in complete denial about himself. So no, he cannot get fixed.
Okay, Jeremy, give me a brief answer on this one.
McVay couldn't fix Goff because he didn't want to. He gets Stafford with the team that was built around Goff and still had to add 2 pieces to win a Super Bowl. McVay has been failing all year to make that team better. How do you think he's going to make a garbage QB better?
That's good. I like that. All right. I'll let you quote while you're ahead with that comment because that was good. All right, Jacob.
McVay had the biggest thing about it is McVay is a pretty damn good coach, but not here. Not here. For one thing, he has a system that is basically 7 receivers, a bunch of different you have a couple, only a couple of them are wideouts. Everything else is slot. It's a lot of behind the line. Everything like that. They have no run game. And the blocking is horrible. They don't have an offensive line. Baker will get killed. And this will be his final shot. And here's another thing to think about. McVay wanted to leave. They convinced him to come back. After this, I think he could leave anyway. I think he's lost his mojo anyway. So trying to get a guy who's about done in the first place, trying to get him another what are you trying to get? Another 6 games?
Right.
Yeah, it's like no. I think this will be the end for Baker in the first place. He doesn't have the system to get Baker there in the first place. Baker's had run games. This is not a run game here. There's all that kind of stuff, but he's not that accurate to do that kind of system in the first place.
JB?
Listen, everybody loves a feel-good story. Baker Mayfield with redemption would be a feel-good story, but it ain't going to happen. McVay's a horrible coach. The Rams are not a good team this year. I don't get it. I think it's more of blocking, like we had said before the show, San Francisco from getting them with the horrible injury to Jimmy G. That's what I think it was happening, and I just don't like it.
All right. The only thing I'll say is Baker Mayfield is bordering around the category of being a bust, period. Okay.
Borderlining?
He is.
No, he is.
All right.
And the Rams are the only team that wanted him. No other teams wanted him.
Well, right. Okay, but he's in the bust discussion. That's all I'll say. All right, we're on to parting shots. JB, lead off.
Listen, it's almost Christmas Day. And what does everybody love on Christmas Day? The NBA. We got bowl games, 8 million bowl games. I think, the sports exchanges played in a bowl game this year. There's so many of them. We qualified. But, when it's all said and done, the Christmas season, we got the NFL playoffs and the NBA on Christmas Day. The NFL swooping in and playing games on Christmas, thinking that, that they're the only league that matters. The NBA, Christmas belongs to the NBA. The NFL is doing whatever they can to try and draw business away from them. And you know what? The NFL product is just getting worse and worse. The referees are getting worse. The games are horrible. Last night or 2 nights ago, Tom Brady, how predictable was it he was going to win that game? There was 8 minutes left. They were down 16-3. I looked at the TV and I said, oh, we got plenty of time for Tom Brady to turn this into a 17-16 win. Sure enough, with 3 seconds to go, Tom Brady did it. So, you know what? I'll watch the NBA. At least it's something exciting, and we don't know what's going to happen.
Jacob?
All I can say is, as we go into 2023, that I can say this, I'll be a part of history once I have my kids one day, and I'll be telling them stories and grandkids and all that stuff. I was a part of the biggest thing as far as the advent of the rise of sideline sports. We're only getting bigger.
Right.
See you at the Super Bowl. See you at the football combine in Indy. So many other stories. We are moving up. Get in on it and start watching. I can't wait.
Tell me about the sideline sports. I've never heard of it.
I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah,
like with your little thing in the background. It's kind of like when they say everything's fine and there's a fire.
All right, well, good segue over to smoking. All right, give me a parting shot.
I am ready for this part of the season, December. Meaningful football for some teams, and other ones circling the toilet bowl.
Okay.
And Rams being one of them.
Yeah, I can imagine. All right, Rick, give me a quick parting shot.
Matt Rule, another former Panther. I'm glad you're in Nebraska. You're a great college coach, but please shut up and stop making excuses about why you failed in Charlotte. Please stop saying I didn't draft these people. That Tepper lied to me and said this was a 5-year project when it was really a 2-year. I've heard him just flap his mouth about why he failed. He failed because he sucks in the NFL, and he's a good college coach, but he sucks in the NFL. And I don't care that you patting yourself on the back because you never lost the locker room. Matt, you never got the locker room to begin with. I'm glad you're gone. Good luck in Nebraska, but please stop talking and make an excuse about why you failed in Charlotte, North Carolina. You're just a terrible NFL coach.
All right, I got a quick parting shots. We go over to let everybody know how they get a hold of themselves. My parting shot's a really easy one. I'm glad that Nike officially ended its relationship with Kyrie Irving. He needs to keep his mouth shut and just play basketball in layman terms. He's to be seen, not heard, period. And I still wish he'd get blackballed. I'll be hard to press to see what he gets during free agency. That's it on my end. But that said, okay, everybody go around the horn real quickly. Let everybody know they get a hold of you. JB?
JB_the program on Twitter. Right here every Wednesday, J&J Sports Exchange at 7 o'clock. Both sides of the coin every other Wednesday at 11. And, of course, Sideline Sports Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern and DBTV.
Jacob?
Sunday night, at Jake the Pundit on Twitter. Sunday nights, the Basket Bros. Thank you with Scott. With Will, with Will, with Jay. Monday nights during the season, NBA Carousel that starts in January with Megan Price. Tuesday nights during the season, we have one next week for the free agency, confidential, and we can't wait to get it real time. Wednesday nights, double header with with Pundit's Pundit and here the Sports Exchange. Thursday nights away from Sideline Sports, Yin and Yang with TJ Sanson talking everything from film and psychology to politics and everything in between. And then when I'm invited, once in a while, the Gauntlet.
All right, Jeremy.
You can find me anytime that South Florida Tribune needs a guest. I'll be there. Number 2, I on my channel, Kneecap Biting with Smoking Jeremy B, and soon to be a part of Sideline Sports. So I'm excited. You can find me on the Motor City Tribune, which is under the South Florida Tribune at www.southfloridatribune.com. And that is my Twitter handle at Smoking Jeremy B.
All right, Rick.
www.charlottebats.com. Go on there, sign a petition. I'm on Facebook, Charlotte MLB, Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball, Instagram, Charlotte Bats Baseball, and I'm on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy.
All right, well, our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter at Tribune South. And the show can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts, that being the Sports Exchange. I should probably not. You can reach us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. And special kudos to Candy Ebling, who does a marvelous job. If you have any comments about the show, feel free to contact us via email. They're pretty good. We'll be more than happy to put them on the next air. So meanwhile, what a great broadcast we had tonight. Certainly a lot of ground to cover for sure. Jacob, Smoking Jeremy B, Rick Curdy, and JB Ellis, obviously, my regular crew out here. And I appreciate the work that these guys do to put it out there. And once again, special kudos there. So our chat room was very active tonight, which was really good. And as I mentioned before, okay, the website, www.southfloridatribune.com, at Tribune South on Twitter. And please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel by going to youtube.com. Hit subscribe. You're good to go. And I mentioned the audio portion. So on behalf of JB Ellis, Jacob Christner, Smoking Jeremy, Rick Curdy, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Manmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. Yeah, Sports Center. I don't think so. Sports Exchange.
We're
guess.
better.
Yeah, you better believe we are. There you go. Spokesman of the show. So, all right, we will see you next Wednesday night. Have a good night. And Mom, rest in peace. Love you. Happy birthday. Goodbye now.
Good night.